Officially, welcome to the Networking for Everyone workshop. Next slide, please, Carissa. So hello, I am your host for today. If we haven't met, my name is Kristen Nguyen. I am one of the SARC graduate interns / coaches in the Social Science Academic Resource Center. I'm currently finishing up my master's in educational counseling at USC. Therefore, I'm choosing to intern at SARC and get some experience working with students and getting involved in programming for all of y'all. And my fun fact for today is I don't often eat peanut M&Ms, but when I do, I eat them kind of separately. Like I will separate the chocolate from the peanuts and eat them individually instead of biting them together. So that is my fun fact for today. If any of y'all have a fun fact about yourselves that you'd like to share, I would love to know, to know something unique about you. But yes, that's a little bit about me. And now on to the workshop. I have an icebreaker for y'all. We don't have too many people in the workshop, so that actually might make the icebreaker easier. I don't know what the game is actually called. I tried looking it up, but couldn't find the actual name. It is a game where you take turns counting down or counting up, whichever way you'd like, but without notifying the people around you that you will be the next person to say a number. So you just have to guess, and hopefully you don't say a number at the same time as someone else does. I know that we are hosting this workshop over Zoom, and so it's not traditionally in person like how the game is usually played, but I thought that might be a new challenge for us to try to tackle. So for example, if I start off and I start counting 1, someone in the chat can type 2. The next person can unmute themselves and say 3. And the goal is to not say or type a number at the same time as someone else does. And I'd love for y'all to join me to see how far we can get before we start over. I don't know if y'all want to type or unmute yourselves or do a combination. I think it'll be interesting. So I can start us off and then let's see how far we get. So I will say 1.
2.
'Oh no. Actually, we got to 4. And that's better than some groups that I have been in. So that's good. Let's try 2 more times and see how far we get. So also go 1.
4.
7.
8. Oh.
That's pretty good. I am being completely honest, that is pretty good. So I am very proud of y'all. Let's do one more round and see if we can beat 10. 1.
2. 4. Oops. Spoke too soon. Sorry, y'all.
4 is that number where I noticed it easily is the part where we mess up, but it's okay. We got one round where we made it to 10. I definitely think there were some times where I played this game where we did not make it to 10 in any of the rounds we played. So I'm very proud of us. especially when we're doing with both like a speaking and a typing modality combo. So good job, y'all. So officially stepping into the workshop, here's the itinerary for today. There are 3 sections that I'd love to share. The first is defining networking, what it entails, what like literally are the factors that go into like the steps of networking, and why it's important to network. And the second part is different ways of networking. So like traditional ways versus modern, especially with the incorporation of technology, how to be involved in networking, and other like concepts that are similar to networking that could resonate with you. And then the last part is personalization. So how to be more comfortable with networking, how to get used to doing it more frequently, how to personalize it, and just some tips, as well as a timeline of when you should do what kind of networking. So the first part, defining networking. So what is networking? The definition from Oxford is that it's an action or process of interacting with others to exchange info and develop professional or social contacts or relationships. So that was the book definition, but I would love to know for each of you, and including myself, what comes to mind when you think of networking, or when someone says, oh, you should network, or here's a networking event, what do you think of? I know for me, what I used to think of is a lot more of transactional networking. So like having a business card and joining some group and, you know, introducing yourselves to get to know who is there. Before, I wasn't really sure what networking entailed. And so I thought that was just the gist of it. And that genuine connections is more rare. So that's what I used to think of. And if any of y'all would like to unmute and share or type in the chat what you think of when you think of networking, I'd appreciate it so we can get to know what kind of perspectives are in the room. I really like that you wrote, Gina, with people who have similar goals. So like being intentional with your networking, right? Not just going up to anybody or any group just to get your name out there. And you're absolutely right too, Julia, about getting job opportunities. It's a huge way to know about job opportunities, that especially ones that are like not local to you, right? Contact with industries that you're interested in. Yep. So all of that and more is all a part of networking. So I hope to tackle each of the things that you guys have shared. So what goes into networking exactly? So the first part is when you show up, how you compose yourself and how you introduce yourself. The most popular approach is having an elevator pitch or an intro speech. So what goes into an elevator pitch? The key to having a good elevator pitch is it being comprehensive and personal and genuine. People want to know who you are. They want to get a sense of your character. But they don't want you to be just transactional or formal about your elevator speech. So don't hesitate to include a fun fact. Don't hesitate to include fun projects or opportunities you've been a part of that have helped you grow. That'll highlight your growth in your professional life. The second part, active and intentional listening. So when you join any group or attend any event, you always want to make sure that you are intentionally listening to others who are there, who are also giving their elevator pitches, who are also sharing what they have done as part of their professional experiences. Because not only do you learn about them, but it also allows you to understand what they've been through, what their responsibilities are, to see what you can offer them. Especially if you are an individual who is new to networking, listening will help you learn a lot indirectly about how people interact and how, like when you see other people network. And especially as someone who is like joining the event or joining the already established group that is there, that is standing there, people love to see what you can offer them, what you are willing to be generous about and give. And that will make a better impression than if you were to join the group to see what you can get out of it. So it's bi-directional, you know, it's a two-way street, but people definitely pay attention to that. And that connects to the third point of give more than you get. All right, you listen to others and reflect on your own connections and your experiences to see what you can share with others so that they can grow as well. The fourth point is diversity in visibility. So what does that mean? That means diversifying and having different ways to get your name out there. So you don't have to limit yourself to attending events that are labeled as networking events. You don't have to connect with people only on LinkedIn. There are conferences, there are other platforms, especially now that we've gotten used to having like a hybrid environment in a lot of different spaces. Take advantage of that. You know, you can attend in-person events, but you can also connect virtually with people. And there are, especially with this day and age, there are online tools and different ways to be creative in putting yourself out there. And of course, don't limit yourself to like attending events or connecting with people whose goals align with yours, though that is a very, very good way to help you like move up the hierarchy in your field. It's also beneficial to connect with people who don't directly pertain to your field or your professional goals, because you never know what you can learn from them. And you never know what kind of connections they have as part of their network, right? And the last is consistency. So I think this is a factor of networking that people usually overlook, because when people think of networking, it's usually attending that networking event, and that's it. But following up is very, 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 very important. About like several days or a week after attending the event or meeting XYZ person, you want to make sure you follow up with a thank you, saying it was great meeting you, I'd love to stay in contact. And from then on, try to keep your communication consistent so that there's repetition and they remember you. So it's not just following up once, but several times after that, and hopefully making that be a long-term thing. So we've addressed what is networking and what goes into it. Now, why do we have to do it? This was a question I asked myself all the time. I still ask myself this question sometimes, even as a grad student and a very soon to be professional, because networking at first sounds very transactional, and it takes a lot of effort. especially to stay consistent, right, with following up with people. But it is critical in the professional world. So networking is important because it helps you build connections and relationships. You know, people in and outside of your field, especially as adults, it can be harder to form friendships, like personal friendships. And so a lot of times, actually, your long-term friends actually come out of networking opportunities and what started off as just professional relationships or acquaintances. And over time, as you bond more, as you learn more about each other, they develop into lasting friendships. So that is definitely one motivation. The second is knowledge and growth, right? Like I've previously said that when you attend some kind of networking opportunity, you hear people talk and you learn about them, and you see what you can take away, and you see how people have grown to see if you can apply those similar skills for your own professional growth. The third is community and support. And I intentionally put the word bi-directional there because it's not just you looking for your own support. By being there and by connecting, you offer your support to other people as well. You never know what someone else can be going through. You never know what valuable skills and assets you can offer. And so a lot of times people are there to learn from you as well, even if you're the one new to networking. That's not like a determining factor on how you contribute to that kind of community. And the last is opportunities and advancement. And I don't mean just career/professional advancement. There's social advancement too. And whether it's in the same organization or the same industry or even a different one, you can also find opportunities in completely different fields that you never really knew you wanted to explore. It was never a field that you were even interested in or considered joining, like ever. But you never know what kind of opportunities can arise. There are new jobs and titles that are being created every day. So you never know if there's a position that you resonate with or can learn from in a completely different field, unless you attend, some kind of networking thing and you learn about it from other people. So it's a great way to advance your career. And I have that little graphic on the side that is just a visual representation of all the reasons and benefits of why networking is important, just to make it easier for you guys to process the info. But yes, next slide, please. So now we are moving on to part 2. What are the ways of networking and beyond that? So the first thing I think that is important to address is traditional versus modern networking. So traditionally, networking was often referred to as business networking. And it was trying to make a few but loyal connections in the specific field or specific niche that you are involved in. Traditional networking events consisted a lot of workshops and seminars that people would physically attend to. It's very common to have business cards and hand those cards out at networking events as well. And then following up with an email or a phone call. But now there are modern ways of networking. And while you are, it is definitely still a goal to really build and establish those loyal connections in your specific field. It's also encouraged to maximize the size of your network, or what is often referred to as your networking web. So this consists of those outside of your field, because again, you never know what people outside of your field can offer, right? They very well may happen to know or even be friends with someone that you really look up to in your field, right? And so now networking with others outside of what you're used to is definitely encouraged. Second bullet point is socials. There is definitely more incorporation of technology and social media now. And so you don't have to attend just workshops and seminars in order to network with somebody. You can network with someone through Instagram. You can network with someone in like some virtual panel, right? Someone in like a remote class that you're in. And so it's not as like intimidating. It's not as formal as like a workshop or a seminar. I know sometimes those can be scary. I still find it scary, having to dress up and attending those events. So getting to network through socials is very convenient for us now. And that ties into the third bullet point of online tools and platforms. Definitely take advantage of them. And lastly, effects of the pandemic. So it's not ideal, right, that we are in a pandemic, but throughout the pandemic, Zoom, for example, has been a big emphasis, a big highlight in how we go through education and the workforce now. We have the choice of working from home, learning from home, and having it be very convenient for us. We're able to multitask. We're able to attend events in, on the East Coast, whereas we're on the West Coast. We're able to attend events that are in different time zones, even international events, if we want. And so that is definitely a benefit that came out of utilizing Zoom. So do not hesitate to, sign up for an event like that. It's probably something new and something different that we're not used to, but definitely can benefit us. So take advantage of it. So how do you get more involved in networking besides just attending some kind of event that is being put up? Number one, you can definitely join organizations. Once you graduate, or even like as an undergrad student, you can still join professional organizations. It is a great way to have resources come directly to you. It is a great way to meet people. A lot of these organizations hold annual or regional conferences too. So you get to meet people outside of your institution or like company that you are, residing in. Second, attend an event, even if you are confident in the topic. I think this is something that not a lot of people talk about. Usually people say, oh, I want to attend XYZ to learn ABC. But you never really hear a lot of people say, I'm going to attend X event to help others learn about A, or to see what I can offer about A. Just because you are very versed in the topic or specific skills doesn't mean that you stop learning. There's always something new out there to discover. There's always something new about another professional individual that you can learn from. So don't hesitate to sign up for something, even if you've already attended it before. And to expand on that, lead something, whether it be a workshop, a panel, some kind of team bonding or interactive activity. This puts your name out there in a slightly different capacity. It like officially it officially gives you that like leader and like expert like title, right? For you to qualify to host something. We all have different skills and experiences to offer. So I know for a fact that all of you here have something that you can definitely lead a workshop, panel, or activity on. So don't hesitate to give yourself that space. You know, you deserve to take on that role. You deserve to take on that space and inform people about what you know. Volunteer to facilitate miscellaneous tasks. So if leading a workshop, for example, is still something that you're hesitating about, which is definitely understandable, it can be scary, right? Volunteer to, you know, help out with other tasks that are going on at that event or like that conference, whether it be like being at the sign-in table, you know, making sure people like sign in, get their name tags. That is a great way for you to not have, you know, like so much responsibility where it's scary, but you still get to meet everybody that comes in. So that definitely gives you an advantage compared to someone who, you know, is not sitting at that table. And then the last bullet point is host a mixer. So this is definitely probably something more comfortable with those who have networked before or who are already a working professional, but you can definitely do this even like before becoming a working professional. You can initiate hosting a mixer so that people can attend. People will know your name since you are the host, and you get to be the one to decide how it occurs, you know, the vision for it, and what kinds of conversations can happen. So that is definitely an option too. And then mentorship versus sponsorship. So you guys have probably heard of mentorship before. I know I definitely did as an undergrad, but sponsorship was something that I didn't know about until I entered grad school 2 years ago. So just to briefly go over mentorship, with mentorship, there is a clear role distinction between the mentor and the mentee, right? The mentor is the one who is more experienced in, you know, whatever it is, whether it be the general field or specific skills, but there's that clear role on who's the mentee learning from the mentor. Again, it's learning oriented. So you ask questions, you learn from the mentor, you ask for advice. A lot of mentorships also originate from like-mindedness or compatibility, because you're in a similar field or you have similar career goals. And so you seek a mentor who has gone through the processes that you are looking to go through, right? And of course, the mentor offers advice and support whenever you need it. Whereas sponsorship, it's a little different. With sponsorship, there is guaranteed bi-directionality. So what is that exactly? It means that not only is this person there for you, but you are also there for them, even if you are the one who has just entered the workforce. It is a two-way street at the very beginning. And you vouch for each other, right, in your professional settings. There's guaranteed consistency. So like with mentorship, a lot of times you can, you know, go about your independent lives. And when you run into a situation, you contact your mentor, either to vent or ask for advice or ask for support. And you don't have to catch up every week in order for your relationship to exist, right? But with sponsorship, there is that guaranteed consistency. You don't have to wait until, you know, you run into an issue or you have a question in order to reach out to that other individual. And same thing for them. They don't have to wait for an issue to reach out to you. There is that guaranteed understanding that you both will keep up with communicating with each other so that you are updated on what the other person is doing in order to continue vouching for them in the professional world. Now, coverage and loyalty. So that is similar to how I have mentioned that they vouch for you in the professional world. They see what you have done, or you see what they have done and how they present their skills. And so there is that trust that they can keep up with those skills or improve those skills. And so you use your professional image to vouch for them and hopefully like bring them along with you in your advances, and they do the same thing for you. And lastly, career investment and catapult. So that ties into how I just mentioned about like you bringing them with you or them bringing you with them in career advancement. So a lot of times if you have a sponsor in your same field or even within the same like specific organization or company or institution that you are with, if they move up the hierarchy, right, into more administrative roles, and if they trust your work ethics, your skills, what you have to offer, they can definitely advocate to the higher ups on advancing your career so that you move up the hierarchy as well. Sometimes that's not planned, but it can be very beneficial financially, but also professionally, to see how much further you can go in the professional field, and how you can transfer your skills into a new role. So personalization. We've talked about what networking is. We've talked about different ways and concepts of networking, but now how do you do it, especially in a way that makes you comfortable? Because I know it can be intimidating and just tiring. So how do you motivate yourself in order to successfully network? So I have an acronym, AGIS. You can choose to pronounce it however you would like, but there are 4 components that I highlighted because I think that they are crucial in making networking more comfortable for each of us. So the first is active listening. So we've mentioned this factor before in the earlier slides, but how does active listening make it more comfortable for you? So one, if you are listening to others speak, the pressure is off of you, right? You are not the one talking about yourself. You are not the one talking about anything. You can just sit there or stand there and listen. So you don't have to be constantly thinking of, oh, what do I say next? What else do I showcase, right? And then with active listening, emphasis on the word active, you still have a presence, even if you are not the one speaking. So there's a difference between just listening or hearing what people say versus active listening, where you are intentional with people's words and what you're looking for to see what you can offer them or what you can learn from them. You're more likely to be like attentive with your facial expressions and your composure. And so people still recognize your presence in the room. The third is picking up pointers. So when people are speaking, there will be just maybe one random thing that they say that you don't expect, and that will be the one thing that you pick up on and try to apply for yourself. So it can be very helpful just listening to someone, even if you're not the one talking. Second is genuineness. So you know yourself best. So you know what your skills and talents and highlights are. So don't be afraid to let yourself shine. You deserve the space to do so, and you should do so. Second bullet point, honesty without worry. With this bullet point, you want to be honest with what you showcase about yourself. You never know who is in the room. So if you highlight something about yourself, that person can immediately, address you and connect you with either another person or some kind of opportunity that they think you have potential for. So you want to be honest with what you can offer in case that does pop up. I definitely have heard stories about, people who maybe weren't completely honest with the level of of their skills, and there happened to be someone in the room who, fully believed, what they can offer and tried to connect them, and it didn't work out because the standards weren't met exactly. So you deserve to sell yourself and promote what you can do in the professional world, but make sure to be honest about it too. And the third point, I put people will notice, because with the genuineness and with the honesty, people will make note of it. People will notice when you are trying to say something because you think they want to hear it. And so you don't have to try to do that. Be you. Don't try to be someone you are not, because people appreciate your authenticity. The next the I part of the acronym is involved activities. So a lot of times when you're attending networking events, you don't have to actually just join a conversation or like attend a workshop. There are other alternatives that out there that you can participate in, that are probably more comfortable for you or less intimidating. It allows your attention to focus on something else, right? So not focusing on speaking, not focusing on, sitting upright and listening. You can be involved in some kind of activity that someone hosts. And when you're participating in something like that, you get to learn about people, right? It's not like asking questions like, what's your favorite color? Or like, where did you previously worked at, right? But you still get to learn about their personalities by seeing how they present themselves in a group, how they go about the certain activity. You kind of see their working style, their perspective, how they think. So you can still pick up on a lot of things about people through like a non-traditional activity like this. And of course, when you're involved in an activity, you can avoid the small talk. I know a lot of times small talk gets boring, gets tiring and transactional, right? So if you are involved in an activity, then you don't have to do that kind of small talk. And you can just directly ask questions that are pertaining to the activity or the goal that you have in that activity. And the fourth part of the acronym is S for strategies. So what kind of strategies are out there to make networking more comfortable? One is posture and mannerisms. So you don't always have to sit upright like this. You don't always have to have your shoulders back. You can definitely be more relaxed and still be present. You can, if you're standing in a group, listening to someone or speaking, you can definitely like lean against a wall. You can definitely put like, your weight on one leg if that's more comfortable for you. I know I can't visually show that right now because we are over Zoom, but I know I tend to stand like that, and that helps me versus, standing upright with my weight balanced on both feet. This might sound very minor and something that is often overlooked, but it is very important, especially if it's a long networking event and you can get, physically tired. Is putting your hands in the pocket okay? That's a really good question. I personally think it is okay, especially if you are the one that's listening to someone else speak. If you are the one speaking, I don't think it's something you have to be very intentional to avoid. But at the same time, I don't think I encourage it because you want to be active and lively when you're presenting, right? So give yourself room for hand gestures, for, expressing what you want to express. And so if you're the one speaking, maybe don't try to put your hands in your pockets. But again, if you're the one listening, you can definitely still do so and show that you are intentionally listening to someone. That is a really great question. So thank you for asking that. Direct intentions. So with this strategy, you make it known why it is that you are there. Don't hesitate to say like, I'm here to learn about X position, or I'm here because I want to improve Y, or I'm here because not because I'm intentionally looking for, a new skill outside of my field, but I want to hear insight from others and share experiences. With that kind of, expressing your direct intention, people know what you're looking for. People appreciate why you are here, and they know how to better offer perspective based on what you say you're looking for. And then the third strategy is breaks and movement. Regardless of whether you are the one speaking or just listening, don't be afraid to move. Shift your weight from one side to another, look at your watch, go grab a drink of water, come back, or just go outside for fresh air and be back. I think a lot of times with this kind of networking space, there's this pressure maybe or obligation to just keep networking or stay for the entire duration, and not give yourself a break. But you definitely deserve a break. Everybody does, really, because networking can be tiring since it takes effort. So make sure to allow yourself that so that you recharge to network for the next event. This is a quote that I saw from an article. I thought it really hit for me. And so I just wanted to share with y'all. You either network or you don't work. In the professional world, it is a lot about your skills and qualifications, but it is equally about who you know and who can help advance your career. And so if you don't take advantage of those kinds of opportunities, it can hurt you and hinder your advancement. So make sure to try to network so that you can benefit yourself. And then I have a couple, effective networking tips. So the first is on arrival and duration. If you can, even though it can, be tiring, if you can, try to arrive early and stay late with breaks in between, right? So that you try to maximize your opportunities. If you are involved in in-depth discussions with people, that is great. But also allow yourself to make rounds. Say, I appreciate this in-depth conversation, but I think I'm very curious about learning from others here. So I'm going to make my rounds and I'll come back. And that is totally okay. People understand that you want to maximize your networking web, right? And throughout your duration at a networking event, if you do these things, it increases the chances of you being someone that they think of when they think about that networking experience. And that's the goal. You want to be that person that people think of when they reflect on that event. Second one is composure. So that connects to what I previously mentioned about posture and mannerisms. You want to be open yet relaxed. You don't want to be stoic. You don't want to be stiff. And personal. Don't be afraid to share personal experiences or different parts of your hobbies and personalities. Sometimes that can be what connects you to another professional. Confidence is key. A lot about networking and job hunting is confidence, aside from your actual qualifications. Because if you don't believe in yourself, it's hard for others to believe in you, right? Follow up. So not just 1 week after the initial meeting or the initial event, but follow up several times after that. And when you follow up, don't just say hi, just checking in. Make sure to include something, whether it be a question about their position or an interesting article you came across, or starting some kind of discussion so that it allows for continuation of that conversation, right? And lastly, make lasting personal relationships. So if you connect with someone and you actively listen, right? And they actively listen to you, you understand what each other's needs are. And so you keep that in the back of your mind, and you're on the lookout for what you can offer people and what people can offer you. Development and consistency is key, right? As in with anything. And similarly to how I said, like, you know, professional relationships at first can over time develop into personal friendships. It's definitely the same thing here. The more you talk, the more you share, the more that you understand each other's lifestyles and goals. And that forms into friendships. And here are specific UCI resources. You definitely have the Division of Career Pathways to utilize. They have networking events and resources that you can definitely check out, especially as a student. Make sure to utilize, you know, all the services you can before you graduate and can no longer do so. I'm a UCI alum, and I wish I had taken more advantage of these resources when I was still here as an undergrad, because I no longer have the same, you know, maximum like privileges that current students do. And you know, the second one is Anteater Network. This definitely helps build your network here at UCI. Even if you don't plan to work at UCI, this is still beneficial because you never know who you can meet and who they know outside of UCI, and they can totally connect you. And I believe the next slide is a suggested timeline of when to do what kind of networking. Of course, this is just my own suggestion, and you can definitely you know, modify it to however it fits your style. Throughout, you know, the school year, UCI hosts hosts career fairs. So I know that the spring one recently happened, so take advantage of that. I noticed that they are also hosting like a 1-minute like introduction event. So you also want to check that out, see if they can help you form your elevator pitch, because that is essentially what it is. I suggest that around like, you know, mid or end of spring quarter is when you remain in contact with the faculty and staff that you like and would like to learn from, so that they remember you throughout your summer break, right? So that there's no like disconnect between when you interact with them during the school year during spring versus fall. And in the summertime is when I think it's critical to like attend institutional or community networking events, so that you can see what is out there beyond just UCI. I believe during September is like a fall kind of career fair. Yes, of course. Thank you for attending, Camille. Yeah, there is fall career fair too, aside from spring. So definitely take advantage of that so that you get a head start in the school year. Don't hesitate to join organizations even as a student. You don't have to wait until you're a working professional. Begin volunteering to host workshops and activities. So once you join campus clubs or organizations, after several months, you get a feel of the dynamic, the vision of that organization. And if you're comfortable with it, you know, put yourself out there to lead something so that you put your name out there and people know what you're capable of. And then February and March is my suggested like prime time to like research events and conferences and looking for mentors and sponsors, so that you give yourself several months to develop that relationship, so that by the time like you end the school year or you graduate, you have solidified, you have established that kind of relationship to help, you know, kickstart your professional career. I believe that is all that is part of my workshop. So next is Q&A. And I noticed we have a question in the chat. So thank you for asking that. Would you mind sharing some tips for introverted people trying to network? This is where I really emphasize the active and intentional listening, because you don't have to speak and you can still be present. right? So the pressure and the eyes are not on you. Another tip I have is expand on the non-traditional ways of networking. So like, even like this can be a form of networking, right? If we connect after this workshop ends, you are still, you know, in the comfort of your device. We don't have to meet in person, yet we can still talk and I can still see what I can offer you. So take advantage of virtual and remote opportunities that allow you to have your camera off so that the pressure is off of you. You don't have to, you know, express everything that you can offer in that moment, but just putting your name out there and saying what you're interested in already allows people to keep in mind the kind of person you are and what are your professional aspirations. And don't hesitate to utilize social media. I know social media can be more, can be easier than like an official networking event. So if you connect with your friends on social media, just say, hey, like I'm looking for this, or do you know anybody? That is a very informal and like no pressure way to network. That actually happened in my class yesterday during my master's program. And like literally none of us realized that that was networking until our professor literally said it, that was networking. And so don't hesitate to like do non-traditional networking. A lot of opportunities can turn into networking, and it doesn't have to be some kind of formal event. So those are my tips. If you have more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I also have that form. If any of y'all would like to fill it out and provide some feedback on how we can improve for future workshops and events, let me put it in the chat just in case. But yeah, thank you for attending this networking event. I hope that, you know, you took away something, you learned something from someone, or you learned a strategy that you can utilize in your own experiences. And if you ever have any questions, SARC is always here to help you with these kinds of career development opportunities. Thanks for attending.